So, to get started, maybe even if we know who's online, this is the second edition of the Leadership Point of View, and today we have Alex with us, and I already know Alex for quite a while. I think for over a decade. And he, as a CEO of SYNAPSE, has been exploring the importance of a morning routine for a daily success. And I think he practiced for over 3,600 days, which is quite impressive. So he has his a proven approach backed by recent scientific studies, but moreover by his own experience. And I thought it would be a great way to challenge, how leaders actually take on their morning routine. And with that, I'll just give the word to Alex and let him actually go through the point of view. And for the ones that are joining for the first time, this is like a 25 minutes inspirational session where for the next 15 minutes, Alex will have uninterrupted pitch on the point of view. You can use the comments on the chat to provide questions and thoughts that come to mind. And I always recommend to close the browsers and notifications and just give real presence attention to Alex for the next 50 minutes, take notes, and then we're going to have a very interesting conversation. So with that, Alex, I give the word to you and that you, shine a light on our morning routine.
Thank you so much, Hugo. Don't major in minor things, said Jim Rohn more than 45 years ago. He was the first mentor of one of my mentors, the inventor of life coaching. And it's true, I really believe that most people major in minor things in life. I believe morning routine is one of the major things that can make the greatest difference for us. And that's why I took the time and responded to this invitation today. I'm so happy to be here with you. I'm going to cover two famous books, The 5 a.m. Club and Miracle Morning. And then I will tell you how I crafted my own morning routine and what I do exactly myself, so you can have a bit of inspiration and I'm sure take some action from today. The first famous book that really changed my life is the one by Robin Sharma. I met him actually when I joined ISEC in 2005, 19 years ago. And Robin Sharma published many books, but the one that touched me the most was the 5 a.m. Club. Own your morning, elevate your life. Very clear message, right? That if you wake up before dawn, if you wake up before the world, your wife, husband, children, you carve this extra time to condition, to prepare, to elevate your whole life. This is really the metaphor. And of course, it's a bit of a scary message, 5 a.m. Club. Many people are like, this is crazy. But for me, it was like this as well. Before, I was like, I would never do that. But then after a while, it's like brushing your teeth. It becomes a habit. You don't put free will and energy to do something once it's conditioned and it's a habit. And honestly, millions of people do it. I've helped myself hundreds to really be doing this, and it's not a big deal, as you will understand. What happens in this book? Robin Sharma gives a very simple, I start with this one because it's the easiest one, 20-20-20 formula. Move, reflect, and grow. That's very simple, right? So move is like physical exercise. He believes that you should start with your body. You wake up and you start moving. You do push-ups, you sweat, you do things for your body. You nurture, you hydrate, you take some deep breaths and do something like this. There is many ways to do it, but movement. You can go outside the house, you can go in nature. And the reason is because that reduces the stress hormones, the cortisol massively, and create also testosterone and dopamine and serotonin. There is many reasons like productivity and focus and energy and longevity. All of that has been proven by academic papers, but that's the suggestion of Robin Sharma. And after 20 minutes of moving, it's reflection. This is between the soul, the spirit, and the emotional. It's really the two things that I see there. So you have things like meditation or prayer, which will be more towards the spiritual, but also quieting the mind and helping emotionally, right? Journaling or contemplating, these are the type of things that he suggests there. And of course, you boost your gratitude, you boost your happiness, your serenity, and it just makes you have decreased reactivity, right? If you wake up earlier and you carve this time for you, you increase your positivity, your creativity, many benefits. And the last thing is grow. So this is the mind, the intellectual. Of course, not just learning intellectually, you want to apply what you learn, right? You want to make it real. So I always say the first level is cognitive, but then it's emotional, and then it's physical. When you learn something physically, it's in your body. It's like automatic, right? So, but here you can read a book, you can listen to a podcast, watch a YouTube video, maybe watch the POV recorded calls. There is many of them. So this is the type of thing that you can do there. And the idea is to do it on things that are relevant to you. If you read a book on a subject that is so distant from your life and that you don't take any action, it might not be that effective. But I think even Oshika talked in the last POV, and there is clearly some research that people that just study 20 minutes a day on a subject and they apply it in their profession, their income, increases massively, because most people don't. It's very simple. But if you study, I did it with coaching, right? I started 19 years ago. I didn't know what coaching was. I just started experimenting some things and reading and studying and practicing, and then you become one of the best one in something if you do the 10,000 hours and you study and you improve what you do. So this is income, impact, domain dominance, personal growth. This is what you get by this growth. And the way you start your day is really the way you do anything. It's the way, your life moves forward. So if you do that for 1 year only, I've been doing it for more than 10 years, but 1 year only, it's 122 hours extra of exercise, of working on your goals, of gaining new knowledge. This is quite a lot of hours that sometimes we say we don't have time, So let's talk about the cold shower. This is something I do in the morning. And it's true that if you think about it, it's the last thing I want to do. You wake up, you're still a bit kind of, getting out of bed, and then I go immediately into the shower. And of course, my mind says, no, but your wife is sleeping, your children are sleeping, you might wake them up, or actually it's winter, it's cold, you might get sick. You have this chatter that is in your mind. But once you get out of the shower, your whole body is awake. You feel proud, you feel strong. It's like you really start your day properly, right? So how do we turn off this voice for the ones that haven't tried it yet and are still listening to the mind and to the voice? Have you seen Pixar movies? We love it with my wife and children. We watch all of them. Luca is a great example. In the movie Luca, you have this Silenzio Bruno. Bruno is a voice that's like, don't go into the scooter, don't do the crazy things, a rational voice, maybe more the left brain. And we want to silence Bruno so we can really do some extraordinary things in life. And the cold shower is just a metaphor for saying to your body, when I say go, we go. I've walked on fire, I've broken wood, I've done very stressful things in my life. I've been vulnerable many times, and saying I love you first and reaching out to people out of your league, many things require you to take this. So the cold shower is a metaphor for every pillar in your life. That's why I started with Robin Sharma, and now I moved to the second most famous one, Miracle Morning. Everyone heard about this book. It's a bit more complex. There is 6 elements, but if you think about it, they match completely the one from Robin Sharma. Because exercise number 4, Halle Herold suggests 20 minutes, so it's the same as moving, 20 minutes. And reading is 20 minutes that he suggests. That is really the growing element, nurturing your mind with some new professional or personal development content, some things that it can be a podcast, right? So the only difference is that in Miracle Morning, instead of having this reflect, it's like silence, affirmation, visualization, and scribing, which could be journaling, right? So I just want to go a few minutes into silence, affirmation. Silence is really prayer, meditation, spiritual. It's again the same thing. So let's talk just affirmation and visualization to explain what we mean specifically, right? Affirmations can be, I call them incantations. And one of my mentors is Tony Robbins. If you watch the movie, you will see me on it on Netflix. It's I'm Not Your Guru, right? It's a seminar that I did with Tony Robbins 10 years ago, 2014 in Miami. And in the seminars, he comes on stage and he says, your incantations, your affirmations are more important than your values. And I get pissed off. I'm like, what? I've been a coach at this time since 2005. So I've been like more than a decade, like 9 years studying coaching, and values is everything. How can you say affirmations like this? Oh, I'm happy can be more important than values. But then I understood that your values, they change. I changed my values so many times in my life. I reconditioned my whole nervous system, my rules for my values as well. But my incantations, the affirmation I choose to do in the morning, when I do them properly, not just I'm happy, but I create my life. I am glad. When you put the physiology, you actually teach your nervous system who you are. So you change your values. That's why I understood it's so important to have affirmations. And visualization is just, I look at my vision board. This is an old vision board from 10 years ago. I just put a vision board like this. I create it with stuff that seems impossible to me. But then 4 years ago, I've realized all of them and put my real pictures on top. And I'm teaching my brain that whatever I decide, it will happen. The universe will make it happen. It might take 10 years. Don't expect to do everything in 1 year. We overestimate what we do in 1 year, but we all underestimate what we can do in a decade or two. So what I do is I look at one of the pictures. Let's say I look at the snowboard trip with all the CEOs. I close my eyes and I visualize it. I visualize it so many times before it happened. So it's about using the power of images and emotions. And affirmation, it's really using your communication to change who you are. You have papers published by Amy Cuddy, many papers, academic papers on the subject, but her TED Talk or her book, Presence, can give you the essence of it. If you stand like this, for 2 minutes, your cortisol decrease and your testosterone increase by about 20%. So she made thousands of people stand like in this power Superman, Superwoman pose, and they did better at exams, interviews. She tested everything. So we know that this physiology makes a big difference. Instead of just standing like this, I would rather take a cold shower or scream and jump and do something more intense, workout, right? Testosterone has 200 functions in the body biologically. So you want to use your physiology and not just do words. Journaling is good, but you want to really engage your whole communication. As you know, these statistics here are famous. So let's look at really what needs to happen and why I created my own morning routine and how we can create yours. The first step when we learn something is pattern recognition, for then being able to utilize and then being able to create. When you learn to play the piano, you don't build a symphony from scratch, right? You first look at, understand how people play and recognize how they do things, and then you start modeling, and then you can create, right? So that's why I'm going to show you what I created after 19 years really looking at this, my own methodology. So a few years ago, like 5 years ago, my wife and I, we created this wheel of life, these 12 pillars of life. And if you think about it, being, right, the first 4 blocks, that's where we start. Because look at the pyramid, I did a drawing for you. Being is at the bottom. I am an athlete. That's an affirmation. If you are an athlete, then you eat properly and you work out. And then you have a body that is nice, that is functional, that is high energy, right? I am an entrepreneur. You are an entrepreneur. Then you create new things. You find money, you find clients, you hire people, and then you have a business. But most people are living in the inverted pyramid life. They buy watches they can't afford. They take fake pictures at the gym on airplanes. People rent private jets today for you to film without taking off. This is crazy, the world we live in of inverted pyramid. But we want to put being first, the I ams, or I am more. That's the type of affirmation that most people suggest. So in my case, I chose 4 pillars. I really wanted to make a distinction from Miracle Morning or Robin Sharma of like intellectual, emotional, spiritual, and the health. So this is the 4 blocks of my being that I will nurture every day. Before my wife wakes up, before my children wake up, I will make sure that I really prime, I condition my body and my intellect and my emotions and my spiritual. That's really how I prepare myself. So when my family starts, when my business starts, I'm ready to give. That's what this wheel of life allows me to do. Of course, in order to give, you need to have. So that's why you start nurturing yourself first, right? So that's why I will do what Tony says, my mentor. The secret of living is giving. That's one of the most beautiful truths in the universe. I will be focusing on giving. And if you do it, even if you have scarcity, it will live your life. That's what Tony says. But in order to give, you need to have. So that's why in my wheel of life, I put 1 block of being, focused on giving yourself, but the 2 other blocks, relationship and contribution, are about giving to others. 2 times more giving to others than yourself, because when you start giving, you get so much, right? But what's important to understand in this wheel of life is that after so many years, I don't follow a recipe anymore. I'll be honest with you, I'll share a secret, even this morning, right? My wife woke up much earlier than planned, and we made love. That was not planned in my morning routine, right? But this happened today. Will I still do my... After this, maybe I don't need. So systemic life is something that is a greater truth, more important than even what you do exactly in your morning routine. I help my clients, thousands of people, look at the 12 pillars of life and look systemically what's a priority right now. We had an amazing time last night with my wife, looking at our finances and dreams and things. And this morning we wanted to celebrate. So I focus on the marriage pillar, which is not planned in my morning routine, but I change things, I juggle things because I've been having a foundation and my 12 pillars have been progressing for 19 years. I've been having the best year of my life every single year, thanks to the fact that I'm taking this proactive time to condition where I'm going. That's really the message of what's possible and what's not hard. It's very simple. It just requires you to start. What's the reason that it's not hard? Because I just started with basic movement. But after so many years, now I have my wheel of health, right? When someone says, I want to focus on energy, health, and vitality, I say, yes, let's look at this wheel before we do that. How is your structure, your posture? How is your strength? How is your VO2 max? How is your pH, the acidity, the immunity? Because if you do CrossFit, strength and endurance, and you don't have the right nutrition or sleep or immunity, it's not going to be good for you actually to do CrossFit. So if your hormones are imbalanced, it can mess everything up. So you want to know a bit of depth, about these master things in life, like the health. And the last slide I want to share with you is about the success cycle or the momentum. It doesn't matter where you start. Miracle Morning, the book suggests you can start with 6 minutes. 1 minute for silence, 1 minute for affirmations, 1 minute for... That's fine. You start with whatever you have. The important is that you take some action. Because, let me ask you, what's the potential of a human being, really? It's infinite. We are all mind-reaching gems of inestimable value. I believe that with my soul. It's like the potential is infinite for all of us. But what's the result of most human beings? How is the bank account of most human beings? How is the marriage? How is the physical health, right? It's not great. It's actually mediocre if you look at humanity today, most people, right? Most people are in debt and they are alone and they are not in great shape. What's the reason? Lack of action. Of course, my #1 program is called Power of Action, and millions of people did Power of Action. It helps people virtually all over the world take change in their life. But action only is not enough. Because what if I call 1,000 people and say, wouldn't you want to buy from me, would you? Maybe 2 will buy because they have pity of me, but just so I can feed my family. But I mean, I won't have success with that. That's why you need certainty and belief. And so when you have and you call and you're like, you feel in my body now that I'm not making up some concept. I've lived this for a long time and I've helped thousands to live it. So you feel the truth and the certainty. When 2 people are in a rapport, the one with the highest certainty influences the other. That's one of the foundation of commerce and sales that I learned in ISAC, actually. So the success cycle looks like this. You take some action, but you don't wait to have the results so you believe. If you wait to have $1 million in your account before you believe you're a millionaire, you never get there. It's too hard. But if you believe and you feel you are a millionaire and you feel the abundance already right now, then you tap into more potential and you take more action and you get more results. And then the cycle never stops. This is really the wisdom of the success cycle, momentum, versus the negative spiral where you don't take much action, your results are poor, it reinforces your belief, so you take even less action and use less potential. So this is what I invite all of you to do, friends. I invite you to start today. Take one element, wake up just a bit earlier. And to wake up earlier, it's about putting an alarm clock to go to sleep. My body is conditioned, so I don't need an alarm clock for 10 years. I just wake up naturally very early. But because I'm very disciplined about what time I go to sleep, it has to be a very big event for me to stay late. Because I'm a morning person as well. My chronotype is more for productive in the morning. So everyone should adjust. It's not about 5 a.m. for everyone. But start small and get momentum and do these core elements and play with them like me. Every time I do a different type of exercise, and sometimes I go for 3 hours in the mountain in the morning. When you have abundance, you can expand, When you don't, when you start and you're stuck and you have a job and you have to be there at 8 a.m., if you don't wake up at 5, how are you going to start to create this space, this proactivity, this reflection, this conditioning time? So that's my invitation to all of you. I'm looking forward to your questions. That's what I love the most, to interact. And you have my contact here. Please reach out to me by email, by chat. I would love to answer any question.
Thanks, Alex. This was really empowering. I took a lot of notes for myself. I will invite the people to use the chat for any questions or thoughts or takeaways you are getting at the moment. And while you do that, I have an initial question, which might not be an either or game, but at the beginning you start with the time, yeah, the 5 a.m. club, and then go there. Is it more important the time or the process? And I know that they're both interconnected, but is it more important the act of, no, I have to wake up at 5 a.m. and start the process, or like try
Mm,
to start
yeah.
to change the pattern at the
Mm,
time that you already wake up? So I'm just trying to see the
yeah.
starting point. And maybe both have to go hand in hand, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts here. Yeah.
Overall is a process. For sure is a process. Like for me right now in my life, the time has no influence at all. I can do my 5 a.m. at 11 a.m. I could do it. I don't even need to follow. It doesn't change anymore because I've mastered the pillars. They're integrated in my life. So, I do movement, I do growth, I do reflection. My spirit is nurtured in many aspects. I take weeks for each pillar every year with my wife. So I get to a level there that it's the process. It doesn't matter all the time now. But when you start, when you're stuck, when you don't feel in control of your life at the beginning, I will say that maybe the time, or at least the rigidity, when you play the piano and you just do random, you don't learn the piano. You have to do the thing like the boring. When you play volleyball, it's like you repeat a million times the same boring movement, and that's how you play any sports. You condition your nervous system by repetition. Of course, if you add intensity, strong emotion, you can multiply by thousands the speed. But I think the process is the foundation. But when people are really suffering or are really stuck, if you don't carve out the time in the morning first, you become reactive, and that's where most people are. So it's true that if you have children, it's different. If you have, a job that starts at a certain time, so there is context, of course, before anything else.
Yeah. Well, a good one. Speaking of context, and I think we were talking a little bit before we started the webinar, but
Mm,
Wojciech
mm,
actually asked two questions. The first one was about, you're talking about the morning, yeah, you wake up at
yes.
5 a.m., but what does it
Mm,
mean when going to sleep?
yeah.
And the second one he asked was, how do you combine the routine with kids falling asleep late or getting up way too early? And I think you answered a little bit, but maybe your thoughts on how you navigated this change yourself with your family.
Thank you for this amazing question. I love it. I actually forgot to mention that in the short time I had, but power down hour. I should have done a slide on this. This is one of the most important insights of my life is, some people watch TV or have the mobile phone in the evening in their home. Like in my case, from 9 p.m., except some very special evenings, which happens, but you really have like this 1 hour with the light is reduced, you don't have screens, you don't have like this type of things that can make you stress with work, you're reading, you're in intimate connection with your loved ones, with your family. So 9 to 10 p.m., it's good to have this around this time. So if you do that by 5 a.m., you have the 6.5 hours, kind of the 5 cycles that we need to recover. You should study your chronotype, and mine and my wife's are quite different, so we had some adjustments to do there. She's more evening and more morning, like she's a wolf, I'm a lion. There is many different things there to learn, but it's in general it's really having this time to prepare to go to sleep, conditioning your sleep. It's very important. Can you put the question again, Hugo? I just want to make sure I answer on
Yeah.
spot. But basically, you go to sleep, before 11 a.m. for sure. And ideally from 9 to 10, you're starting to power down. And how do you combine this routine with kids falling asleep late or getting up too early, right? So that's why context and juggling has to happen. In my case, a bit like Hugo, our kids, our family starts around 7, 7:15, 7:30, something like this. So you don't have to wake up at 5. If you wake up at 6, even 6:15, you still can have a 60-minute to do like a proper morning routine, right? Some people have to go to work very early. So 5 a.m. is like a miracle solution because it works for anyone. That's why Miracle Morning says before 8 a.m. because then you get interrupted so much. Every day is different for me. Every day I have a networking event or something. So I would say you have to experience your own life there. But starting at 5 is really the formula for proving to yourself you can. It's like walking on fire. The first time you do it, it's like crazy. Then you build a certain confidence.
And now we have Valerie, which asks a great, a great question. I recognize this one so much. My God, sorry, Valerie, I'm laughing because I look at my own self, looking at here. I'll just put her question here. Sport, cold shower. Um, could not even start days without both. But when do you look at your phone for the first time? And I think this is a hot topic, and myself, I feel trapped with these at times. So what are your thoughts here, Alex? And more than just saying that, yeah, don't look your on your phone for the first time, is
Hmm.
there any habit that we can pursue to help accommodate this change? Because and just to give my example, recently I noticed that I wake up and I watch my phone first thing, and that triggers me in the wrong way immediately.
Hmm.
And I guess already maybe something along the lines. But I'm
Yeah.
curious about, if you answer this question, how would you go about that with a specific tip or actionable item?
Yeah. So first thing, maybe don't have your phone or any electronics in the place you sleep. There is some feng shui that I've been studying as well, but this idea of you can have a basic alarm clock that's just an alarm, or we have Alexa waking us up with music from the house, or like something like this. But Stephen Covey, right? He wrote the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He's done one of the greatest research with thousands of top leaders, and the answer was 60-40, 60 proactive, 40 reactive. That's what they all had in common, the Steve Jobs and the amazing athletes. So 60% has to be proactive. So you cannot be in a customer service mode in your life. You're not going to be reacting to your husband, wife, and kids and work and demands and clients. So you don't want to spend more than 40% in stuff that is reactive. My tendency is to be too much on the proactive. So I will create projects and fill my calendar with things that I want to do. And sometimes I will not manage to answer all the clients or something like this. So it's about finding this balance, right? So there is no secret sauce for when to look at your phone, I believe. But it's true that I know, Hugo, you do that. Sometimes, you wake up early and you have this first sprint. Sometimes work. The pillars of life have to come in the equation. Morning routine is about being you. But if you have a huge financial issue or professional or an opportunity, you don't want to say, oh, sorry, I have a morning routine. No, you spend 2 hours working from 5 to 7 a.m. and you be flexible to actually build a presentation, something that is the greatest opportunity, or help your sick parents, so you have to be smart there and really look at the systemic, and then the fun should come after that, really, not before 9 a.m. or except some very special thing that you're waiting for, because then you lose this first tight bubble of total focus, this magic time of creation of the most important thing, which I know you do, Hugo, in professional as well, right? When you get to the office, 9 to 11 is not for a random meeting, it's for building your craft.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. And I noticed that and are you mentioning that, for example, now I'm in Romania, and the plugs of the phone are further away from the bed. So I don't have access, I don't have hand extension access to my phone. And I noticed that automatically shifts my whole dynamic, because I don't feel like standing out of the table to get my phone versus at home where it's right next to me. So I noticed that already, that small item changes. So that's already one of the key takeaways for me, which is okay. When I get home, I have to make sure that at least at the bare minimum, that is not hand or arm distance from myself, and that probably will help out already.
And that's a
And
beautiful example, Hugo, of the environment, right? Because we are one with the environment. That's why we prepare our running shoes. That's why we do things that makes us wake
mhm,
up and already have the plan. And the peer group, the people we surround. I love to have you in my peer group, to be frank. We help each other have a
yeah,
certain
yeah,
standard
yeah,
in life. So
yeah,
when you get
yeah,
30 people that believe they cannot have cold shower, Valerie is in the program right now. She's doing it. She thought it was impossible, but 30 other people start doing it,
yeah,
and you wake up at 5 and
yeah,
it's easy.
yeah. Yeah, speaking of morning routines, we were sharing beforehand for the people to know about the my morning routine, which is not the most amazing, but this gave me a lot of ideas. But one thing that was something I started 2 years ago, which was the fact that I wake up with a very dry mouth. And
Hmm.
that was really bothering me. So what I started doing was, a night before, right before I go to sleep, I fill a glass of water and I put at the counter of my bed. So when I
Yeah.
wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is to actually to drink the whole glass of water. And that actually, I don't know anymore if it's a need or a habit that is unconscious on my mind. And that's an
Hmm.
interesting thing, when a habit becomes something that you stop understanding why it became a habit in the first place. And now you're just mentioning that, and I just realized, oh yeah, this is an interesting shift of habits. And with that said, I don't want to take the time of the people more. I was wondering if there is any more questions, and if not, it would be nice from the people that are joining in, if there is any key takeaway that you have that you would like to share on the chat. It would be nice for Alex and also for myself to see if the value of having some spark inspiration. Of course, there's a lot of interesting content. You're going to get the replay in the next hour or so. But for me, I really took away just the method of the 20-20-20. I think that was a quick, simple takeaway of the move, reflect, reading. I knew the methodology before, I had forgotten, but the way you explain and adjusting the process over the time made me realize that I want to revisit it. I want to revisit the first 60 minutes of my day. And I, on a more particular aspect, the alarm clock versus the phone. I use the phone as the alarm clock to wake me up at 6 a.m., but that's a screen trigger event. And I thought about, I actually can just get an alarm clock or one of those smart lights that open up so for me to wake up at the same time, but without the screen scroll kind of behavior. So that's my takeaway, amongst many others.
It's not just the screen; it carries a lot of stuff with it, right? Emotional anchors.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's my takeaway that I'm gonna take as a next step. So I'm wondering if anyone has any takeaway they want to share on the chat, and I'll wait a few minutes. And if not, it's totally understandable. Alex, any final words on your side while we see if anyone wants to share something?
I will just finish maybe with a quote, which is the one I used in my last TEDx. I opened it, which says, "Regard man as a mine rich in gems of inestimable value. Education alone can cause it to reveal its treasures and enable mankind to benefit therefrom." It's a quote that for me is so powerful because it's saying we are all precious mines. We all have diamonds, rubies, emeralds inside, but it's a mine. It's dark, it's profound. We need to go there and find, and education alone, not just academic education, obviously, but this type of education, self-education, peer group education, is a way that we can reveal this and make the whole of humanity benefit from it. We have so many challenges today. So morning routine is just one way to make sure that this happens in your life, that this education in all the pillars starts emerging early on and have a magnificent life. This is a quote from Baha'u'llah, from the Baha'i writings, that really inspired and guided my last 11 years massively.
Okay, thank you, Alex. This was very inspirational. Thank you so much. I hope everyone enjoyed. The quote. Someone asking to repeat the quote.
Okay, regard man as a mine rich in gems of inestimable value. Education alone can cause it to reveal its treasures and enable mankind to benefit therefrom.
Yeah, I also copy pasted here to make it easier for everyone. All right, fantastic. Well, Alex, thank you once again for joining us, and for everyone else, thanks for tuning in. And we'll hope to keep you being inspired soon. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you so much, Hugo. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day. See you tomorrow morning.
Yeah, tomorrow morning.